there's a lot of stuff I set aside and don't let get in my way. Well, we're reminded here of some people that wasn't letting something as small as a river get in the way of their blessing. That's a minor thing to God. You know? In verse 1 in Joshua 4 said, and it came to pass when all the people were clean passed over Jordan, that the Lord spake to Joshua, saying, take you 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe of man, and command ye them, saying, take you hence out of the midst of the Jordan, in the middle of your trial, in the middle of what was between you and your victory, out of the middle of it, it says, out of the midst of the Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, take 12 stones, and you carry them over with you, and leave them in the lodging place where ye shall lodge this night. Then Joshua called the 12 men whom he had prepared to the children of Israel out of every tribe of man. And Joshua said unto them, pass over before the ark, and pass over before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of the Jordan, and take ye up every man of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, that this may be a sign among you, that when your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, what mean ye by these stones? Ye shall answer them, that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and when it was Verse 7. Then you shall answer them that the waters were cut off out of before the ark of the covenant of the Lord, when it passed over Jordan, and the waters of Jordan were cut off. And these stones shall be for a memorial to the children of Israel forever. Oh. You know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to set it up. It's a good thing to remind yourself of all the victories that have been won. I don't know how many rivers I've come up upon that I needed to cross over to get to the other side. And maybe it wasn't a river, but I remember I know there's been lots of problems and stuff I've come upon. And I didn't know how to get the victory. I didn't know how I was going to get through. I didn't know what was going to happen. And yet I just held on to the nail-scarred hand of the Lord. And I looked to Him and I said, Lord, what shall I do? And He gave me instruction on what to do. And I was able to press forward, and I was able to cross over, as you will, on dry ground. I was able to go through what seemed to be impossible and win a mighty victory, because I kept my hand in the hand of the Lord. And I didn't give up. I didn't look with natural eyes. And that's the biggest thing right there. We can't look with our own eyes. We can't consider what man says. You know, what man says we ought to do. A lot of times man says you need to give up. Or why do you even try? If serving your Lord is allowing you to do this, why would you serve a God that would allow this to happen? Why not? Let me tell you what He's brought me through. You say, why would I serve a God that allowed us to lose a child, or allowed 9/11 to happen, or allowed the bombings to happen, or allow people to die out on the highways, or allow all these tragedies to happen, these earthquakes that happened this morning out in California, all these different things. Why would I serve a God that allowed Christians to be beheaded over across the water there? Why would I want to serve a God that allowed stuff like that to happen? Well, why not? Look at all the things my God's brought me through. You can look at it and see it's a terrible thing that these people lost their lives and that they were beheaded, but they stood firm in their faith. They would not deny Christ, and right now they're walking around whole up there, and they are enjoying the blessing for not giving in. How many times have we not seen a way to get through, and yet we just said, Lord, I know if I can just hold on a little bit longer, just one more day, or just one more step, if I can just hold on, yes. I know on the other side On the other side, there's victory. On the other side, there's a land flowing with milk and honey. On the other side, I won't have to suffer. On the other side, I'm going to come through better than what I went in. You know? And I look all through the Bible. I think about the Hebrew children. I think about when God's children left out of Egypt and they came up upon the Red Sea, you know? And they look back and they said, oh, what are we going to do now? Well, the Red Sea was a blessing and a curse to begin, depending on what side of it you was on. It was a blessing because God's children crossed over on dry ground. And it was a curse because Pharaoh's army died. To them, it was not a good thing. So it's a matter of how you look at stuff. What about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? In that fiery furnace. With the natural eye, that's a terrible thing. To think that you're going to be thrown in and be burned up. Because according to the laws of nature, that's what's going to happen. According to the laws of nature, when you get thrown in and that fire's been heated so hot that the people that heated it up died from the heat and they weren't even thrown in, and you're fixing to get thrown in, to the natural man, that's it. But I like the fact that they stood up and said, okay, whether we live or whether we die, we're not going to deny our Christ. And y'all know the story. They got thrown in the fire and the only thing that got burnt was what man put on them. I like that. Not even the hair on their head got singed. And how many times have we come through things that seemingly was impossible? Rita's told us about victories that have been won. She's cheated. She's already wrote on our rock. Man diagnosed her daughter. But what does man know? Man doesn't know my God. Her daughter's not suffering now. In fact, she's telling everybody that she sees about the Lord. And wells that were supposed to be dry, I read today, there's plenty of water in it. Amen? Because why? Because somebody dared to stand up and say, hey, and let that well be a memorial to that man that said he was going to have to bring her more water. And you know, that's something that man's going to remember. When that water doesn't run out and everybody else's is, that man's going to remember that. You see, without a tragedy or a great experience, you're not going to have it. Without going through something, what are you going to, if we never fought a battle, what are we going to have a memorial about? What are we going to set it up for? What are we going to be reminded of if we've never fought a battle? But we go through the battles, and we come out the other side, and we're stronger because of it. Then the next time the enemy rears his ugly head, we say, see, Satan?
Come on.
You remember when?
Amen.
And you remember what happened? You remember when the cancer was diagnosed? Well, let me remind you that the cancer was
Amen.
You remember the jaw that had the growth that was they was fixing to do the surgery, marked the spot, went in, took an x-ray, and
Amen.
what a great testimony. What a great thing to remind ourselves of. And you know, the thing that gets me through so many times is when I stop and I remember the victories that are won. When I feel like I can't go on and I don't know how, and I start getting depressed and I don't have an answer, I start reminding myself of the victories that I've won, the things that God has brought me through up to this point, and it gives me the strength to stand firm and to go on and press through one more time.